a man stands on a deck wider than most people's homes. Below him, the ocean stretches in every direction. Silence, except for the hum of billion-dollar engines beneath his feet. He doesn't check the price of fuel. He doesn't ask if the helicopter can land. Because when you control trillions, you stop asking questions. You just decide. This is not a story about money. It's a story about what happens when money stops being a number and starts being gravity. Mohammed bin Salman, Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, a man whose morning coffee costs more than most weddings, whose paintings hang in rooms that float, whose decisions reshape economies before breakfast. But here's what no one talks about: the weight, not of gold, not of diamonds, but of expectation, of legacy, of being watched by a billion eyes every single day. You see, wealth at this level isn't about pleasure anymore. It's about presence and control and the story you leave behind. Let's step inside, not with envy, not with judgment, but with curiosity. Because whether we admit it or not, we all wonder, what does it feel like to live without limits? The year is 2014. Prince Mohammed bin Salman decides he's bored of land. Not tired, not restless, just done with it. So he buys a yacht, but not the kind you picture at a marina. This is Pegasus, a floating kingdom. 134 meters of hand-carved wood, Italian leather, and gold that doesn't just shine, it whispers. Inside, the air smells like sandalwood and wealth. The carpets are so thick, your shoes disappear into them. The chandeliers don't hang, they float, suspended like frozen stars. Each cabin could be a penthouse, each bathroom a suite. There's a spa where they rub you down with oils infused with 24-karat gold, a gym that looks like it trains Olympians, a private cinema where the screen wraps around you, and dining halls. God, the dining halls! Long enough to seat an army, quiet enough to hear your own heartbeat. But here's the thing, Pegasus wasn't enough, because 1 year later, in 2015, the prince bought another, Serene, and this one made Pegasus look like a practice round. Over 130 meters long, room for 24 guests in staterooms that rival Buckingham Palace. It had pools that looked like lagoons, jacuzzis that bubbled compliments, a submarine. Yes, a submarine, for when the surface gets boring. The cost? $550 million, enough to fund a space program, or buy an island, or just impress yourself. But let's pause here, because it's easy to hear these numbers and feel nothing. They're too big, too distant. So let me bring it closer. Imagine this. You wake up on Serene. The sun is filtering through floor-to-ceiling windows. Outside, the Mediterranean is perfectly still. You walk barefoot across marble that's been heated to exactly your preferred temperature. Your coffee is waiting, not made by you, not microwaved. Hand-ground, slow-poured, presented on a silver tray by someone who's been trained for years to get the foam just right. You take a sip. And in that moment, you own the morning. Not just the boat, the entire ocean feels like yours. That's not wealth, that's dominion. But it comes with something most people don't talk about: isolation. Because no one around you is there by accident. Every smile is salaried, every conversation curated. You're surrounded by people and completely alone. Now let's talk about art. Because in 2017, Prince Mohammed bin Salman made a purchase that stopped the world. He bought a painting, not just any painting. Salvator Mundi, Leonardo da Vinci's depiction of Christ as the savior of the world. The price? $450 million? The most expensive artwork ever sold. But here's where it gets interesting. He didn't buy it publicly. He used a Russian billionaire, Dmitry Rybolovlev, as a middleman. Why? Because the royal family of Qatar, Saudi Arabia's rival, was also bidding, and losing to them wasn't an option. So the prince moved in silence, calculated, discreet, unstoppable. And when the hammer fell, he won. But then the question started. Where is the painting now? Some say it's on one of his yachts, hanging in a private gallery surrounded by ocean. Others say it's in a vault, hidden, waiting. No one knows for sure. And maybe that's the point. Because when you own something priceless, you don't need to show it. You just need to know it's yours. That painting isn't decoration. It's a message to rivals, to history, to himself. I can acquire what cannot be acquired. I can own what shouldn't be owned, and I will do it quietly. But the prince doesn't just collect boats and art. He collects spaces. In 2015, he purchased the Chateau Louis Vuitton, a 57-acre estate in Louveciennes, France, just outside Versailles. The price? $320 million, the most expensive residential property ever sold at the time. And it wasn't even old. It was built to look like the 17th century, but designed with 21st century technology. Gold-plated doors, marble from Carrara, a wine cellar holding 3,000 bottles, 2 ballrooms, a private theater, an indoor pool where water falls from the ceiling like rain. And here's the wildest part, an underwater meditation room. You read that right. You sit in a glass chamber, surrounded by koi fish and sturgeons swimming in a moat. Above you, a statue of King Louis XIV carved from Italian marble. Below you, silence. It's not a room, it's a throne for your thoughts. The estate is controlled entirely by smartphone. Lights, fountains, temperature, security, all of it, with a tap. You don't live there, you conduct it, like an orchestra, and every note is gold. Back in Saudi Arabia, his palaces multiply. Al Yamama Palace, walls covered in intricate carvings, furniture that belongs in museums. Marble imported from Italy, Turkey, and Greece. Ceilings so high, they echo. The Erga Palace, where even the tissue holders are gold-plated. Every fork, every frame, every door handle, designed not just for function, but for awe. Because in these spaces, you don't just live, you perform. Every room is a stage, every entrance, a statement. But it's not just about Saudi Arabia. He owns a penthouse in New York, 432 Park Avenue, one of the tallest residential towers in the world, a vertical castle in the clouds. He rarely visits, but it's there, just in case. Because when you have this much, you don't need reasons. You need options. Let's shift to the garage. Because the prince doesn't just own cars, he owns speed. At the heart of his collection sits a Bugatti Chiron, top speed, 261 miles per hour. 0 to 60, 2.4 seconds. Cost? $3 million, but it's not alone. There's a Lamborghini Aventador, a McLaren P1, a Rolls-Royce Phantom. Each one represents a different mood. The Aventador is aggression. The P1 is precision. The Phantom is silence in motion. You don't hear it coming. You just feel the weight of it. And then there's the sky. Because the prince doesn't fly commercial, he owns an Airbus A380, custom-built, personally designed. Value? Around $450 million. Inside, there's a concert hall, a Turkish bath, a garage for cars. Yes, a garage, in a plane, because why not? There's also a Boeing 747, outfitted like a floating palace, bedrooms, offices, lounges, all above the clouds. When he flies, the world below becomes irrelevant. He doesn't travel. He teleports between kingdoms. But wealth isn't just objects, it's influence. And in 2021, Prince Mohammed bin Salman made a move that shocked the sports world. He bought Newcastle United, the English football club, for approximately $400 million through Saudi Arabia's public investment fund. Before that, there were rumors about Manchester United, but it was Newcastle that became his, the Magpies, a club with history, passion, hunger, but no trophies in decades. He changed that trajectory overnight. Suddenly, Newcastle had unlimited backing. They started buying players, rebuilding the squad, reinventing the culture, and the fans, they went from hopeless to hopeful. Because when a trillionaire backs your team, you stop doubting, you start dreaming. But it's not just about winning, it's about legacy. The prince doesn't want to own a club, he wants to own a story. And in football, stories are written in golden grass. Then there's the victory gift. In 2022, Saudi Arabia's national team shocked the world. They defeated Argentina in the World Cup. Messi's Argentina, one of the biggest upsets in football history. And how did the prince respond? He gave every player a Rolls-Royce Phantom, each worth around $500,000. Not a bonus, not a plaque, a car, because to him, excellence deserves more than applause. It deserves weight. It deserves leather and chrome and doors that close like vaults. This wasn't generosity, it was gravity. A reminder that in his world, winning has rewards most people can't imagine. But let's talk about the softer side. Because behind all the yachts and palaces and gold-trimmed faucets, there's charity, real charity. Through his foundation, MISC, the Prince funds education. He builds schools, supports startups, invests in innovation and culture. MISC isn't just a foundation, it's an engine for the future. It teaches young Saudis to think critically, to create, to lead. There's MISC Art Institute, MISC Innovation, all designed to prepare a generation that doesn't depend on oil, but on ideas. He's also donated millions to Rohingya refugees, fleeing violence in Myanmar, settling in Bangladesh and Malaysia. He gave over $18 million for housing, healthcare, education. He's funded Syrian refugees in Jordan, Lebanon, and Turkey. Tens of millions, sometimes hundreds. And once, he paid off the debts of over 150 prisoners. People jailed not for crimes, but for unpaid loans. He freed them, returned them to their families, not for publicity, just because he could. And perhaps the most iconic reform? In 2017, he issued the decree allowing women to drive in Saudi Arabia, a decision that shattered decades of tradition. It wasn't just policy, it was revolution, delivered quietly with a signature, and the world watched. Because reform, at this level, isn't loud, it's surgical, one law, one shift, one royal decree, and suddenly, a nation changes direction. Now women attend concerts, they watch films in public cinemas, they drive to work, to school, to freedom. Saudi Arabia, under his watch, is hosting Formula One races, the Dakar Rally, WWE events that cost $100 million a year for 10 years, boxing matches featuring global legends, tennis tournaments under desert stars, all part of Vision 2030, a plan to transform the kingdom from an oil empire into a cultural and economic powerhouse. And the prince? He's not just funding it, he's conducting it. Let's talk about football again. Because in 2023, Saudi Arabia made the most aggressive recruitment drive in sports history. They didn't just buy clubs, they bought legends. Cristiano Ronaldo, one of the greatest players ever to touch a ball, signed with Al Nassr for a contract worth over $600 million. Not just salary, endorsements, ambassadorships, image rights. It was a statement to the world. We're not here to participate. We're here to dominate. Then came Karim Benzema, Ballon d'Or winner, signed with Al Ittihad, N'Golo Kante, midfielder, engine, winner, also Al Ittihad. And then Neymar, Brazilian superstar, flashy, talented, unstoppable on his day, signed with Al Hilal. The Saudi Pro League went from regional competition to global stage. And it all came down to one thing: money, not in a dirty way, just inevitable. Because when you can offer contracts no European club can match, when you can promise luxury, safety, and legacy, players listen. Even Lionel Messi, Ronaldo's eternal rival, signed a deal, not to play, but to promote. a 3-year contract worth $25 million to post about Saudi tourism on Instagram, to smile in ads, to attach his name to the kingdom's image. That's influence, not bought with force, but with vision and zeros on a contract. So where does all this money come from? Let's get real. Prince Mohammed bin Salman was born into the House of Saud, a family that's been in power since 1932. And in the 1930s, they struck oil. Not just any oil, some of the largest reserves on the planet. Saudi Aramco, the national oil company, is worth over $2 trillion. It's the most valuable company in the world. And the prince? He's at the center of it, controlling output, managing investments, directing strategy. Every barrel sold adds to the kingdom's wealth, and a portion of that flows to him. But he's smarter than just spending it. He's reinvesting it. Through the Public Investment Fund, he's poured billions into tech, into real estate, into entertainment and sports. He's buying stakes in Uber, funding AI startups, building smart cities, because he knows oil won't last forever, but influence will, if you build it right. And then there's NEOM, the most ambitious construction project in human history. Launched in 2017, a $1 trillion megacity, stretching 170 kilometers along the Red Sea, from the northern Saudi border near Egypt down to Jordan. It's not just a city, it's a vision of the future. At its heart is the Line, 2 parallel skyscrapers, 500 meters tall, running for 170 kilometers, housing up to 9 million people. No cars, no roads, just high-speed trains underground, renewable energy everywhere, vertical farms, AI infrastructure, a city built not around profit, but around people. At least, that's the pitch. The reality, it's part ambition, part spectacle. Critics call it impossible. Supporters call it inevitable. But here's what matters. It's being built. Right now, machines are carving through desert. Engineers from 50 countries are designing systems that don't exist yet. And the prince? He's betting $1 trillion that the future looks like this. Sleek, sustainable, controlled. A city where everything is monitored, everything is optimized, everything is his. But let's zoom out, because this isn't just about boats and buildings, it's about power. Mohammed bin Salman meets with presidents. He sits across from Jeff Bezos and Mark Zuckerberg. He shakes hands with Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump. He's not just a prince, he's a geopolitical force. Every decision he makes sends ripples. Oil prices shift, stock markets react, entire industries hold their breath, and he knows it. That's the real wealth, not the gold faucets, not the yachts. It's the ability to move the world with a word. So what do we take from all this? Mohammed bin Salman lives in a reality most of us can't fathom, where a $450 million painting is an impulse buy, where freedom means owning the sky, where legacy is measured in cities, not sentences. But underneath it all, there's a man, making choices, carrying weight, trying to prove something, not to us, to history, because when you have everything, the only thing left to chase is permanence. And maybe, just maybe, that's the most expensive thing of all. Before you go, hit that subscribe button, because we don't just cover luxury, we decode it. From the yachts they hide to the reforms they announce. From billion-dollar art deals to trillion-dollar cities. We dig deeper than headlines. We ask the questions others won't. So tap subscribe. Join thousands who already know. Understanding power starts with seeing it clearly.